about this important topic that is the HTM Providence. May us have the opportunity and the privilege to, in this lesson, centered in Reverend David King. May you guide us in this meeting. Please receive our offering. May us learn from our brothers and sisters' testimonies and from our leaders. May us understand the strategies and the victorious methods that are being used in South America. May all of us in our hearts be compromised to realize your will, becoming victorious Chombo families and tribal messiahs, taking all the tribe to realize, to accomplish your will, and to be able to enter the kingdom of heaven. May us every Friday enjoy this opportunity, and may you give us a grace so we can accomplish our responsibilities as sons and daughters, protect our meeting this evening, and receive our offering. I report all the things in my own name. Nivaldo dos Santos, a blessed central family, I do. Thank you very much, Pastor Nivaldo. Tonight, as we scheduled last week, we will have 3 reports, and later we will have a section of questions and answers. I would like to tell the presenters to speak slowly, and then to help the translators. And if any one of you have questions, please save it to send us when the reports are finished. So to begin, let's receive Mrs. Celia. Let's receive her with a warm round of applause. Good evening. Good evening, Reverend David King. Good evening, President Koichi, brothers and sisters from South America. My name is Celia, as mentioned before. My husband is Sergio, and we are pastors in Jardim, Mato Grosso do Sul. As it was asked for us, we are sharing with you a report about the project of HTM Blessings in Jardim. This report, we have here in the Jardim region many families that couldn't become Chombo families and realize the HTM. Then together with Pastor Takashi, he came to help these families that couldn't achieve the 430 horizontal blessings. He came to help them to achieve it. So we started to work together. We became a group. To start this mission, witnessing mission. So this group is a HTM Blessing team, and the families that compose this group is Pastor Takashi, Cesaro family, Sakamoto family, and Mendonça family. That's our team of HTM Blessings. There's many families here. Many families in Jardim region couldn't accomplish this blessing of tribal Messiah. They were feeling their hearts. They needed to start it. So some families could start it, but in this pandemic moment, there's a lot of difficulties. So there was only a few blessings being realized. So we felt that we should do advanced project to achieve the goal. And I think God listened to our prayer, and then Pastor Takashi came uh, to Mato Grosso do Sul to help these families to become Chumbo families. And it is stimulating for us. So we we gathered at this group of 3 families to in order to achieve the goal fastly. So with that, 6 families could register as Chombo families. Then we prayed together. We made Chonso together so God could inspire us. And how could us do that in a small period of time, a shorter period of time? So Pastor Takashi, with his experiences, he proposed us to go to a bigger city to meet bigger flow of people. And the biggest city we have here is Ponta Porã. So in last April, we started in Ponta Porã. It's close to Paraguay. The city is close to Paraguay. We started to witness also in a city in Paraguay and in Ponta Porã in Brazil. We start to pray to couples to receive blessing, and we could meet a lot of good people. When we start to work with this project every morning, Pastor Takashi was emphasizing some important points. First is that the priority is to invite ancestors, good ancestors, and good spiritual world to help us to meet people that could accept to receive the holy wine, and also to meet group of people, many people at the same time, so it could help us in our work. We prayed strongly about that, and also to don't do discriminations and don't give up on anyone. Any person that we could meet, we had to tell them words that could inspire them to receive the holy wine. So Pastor Takashi told us that we are God's tool, a way that God can work. So he was teaching us that because we are instrument that God can use, and also our ancestors. So we were living every day we are going out every day with this spirit and with this determination. Pastor Takashi was telling us that if you were doing with dedication, people wouldn't even think they would accept to receive the holy wine. So we stayed in this city, Ponta Porã, and we met a lot of people. Then we did a strategy. We did a set strategy. So in order to be well received, because since we were living a pandemic, it was hard to meet people. And in during 4 days, we could give blessing to 241 uh, persons. We divided our group in three families. In the next week, after this first week, in the next week, we went to another city that is close to Jardim, the Bonito city. There's a lot of people walking there because it's a touristic city. And during 4 days, we could give the blessing for 130 couples. We went in some small teams to meet people, and we had uh, worthy experiences in that time. In Bonito city, we met an old man. He was a tourist. He was walking around the city. He was sitting down in some place in the city. He was waiting. He told us he was just waiting. He was sitting, waiting for a person to come because he knew that he would receive some blessing that day. So when we met him, he got very touched. He took the holy wine. We prayed to him, and he was profoundly grateful and touched. In another experience that we met, in that day, I was walking with my daughter. She's 14 years old. And that day we met a very old man. He was 8 years old. When we approached him, he he was glad to receive us, and he was grateful to meet us. He accepted the blessing because he needed. He took the wine. He was grateful. And my daughter decided to buy ice cream from him to help him. And this old man gave as a gift, as a donation, the ice cream to her, and she felt so grateful. She felt God's love through that old man. He was working. He was old man working, and he needed the money, but he decided to give a donation. It was very touching, as we felt as like God was helping us, because we were feeling so tired of walking the entire day. So God was helping us, and I felt grateful for this experience, and we could feel God's love through that man. I really We really could feel God's heart. People are waiting for these blessings. As Reverend King said, we need to go out and talk with people, and they will receive us, will receive the blessing because they need it, especially in this pandemic time. We met a lot of people that in this pandemic they lost beloved ones, sons, daughters, husband and wife, and they were crying, and together we are praying for them that God could relieve their hearts, because there's God is losing a lot of God's children every day. So we can consolate God's heart, relieve God's heart through these blessings. And we are grateful for Heavenly Parents and parents, and especially for Reverend King that is stimulating and and encouraging us to accomplish these tasks, this work, especially to Pastor Takashi, Sister Margaretti, and the Ponta Porã missionaries. In these blessings we met a lot of good people that accepted to collaborate with us. Some people even gave us something because gave us money because they felt so grateful. They wanted to give us money to pay for the blessing, and they were so touched with the work we are doing. Even if I am an old woman, there's a woman. She's 77 years old, but she was walking every day to give blessing to others. We are taking care of this pandemic, but we need to hug people, to embrace them, because people are suffering. Next week, we will start a new group with new members that are willing to give blessings. This project can be extended to any family that are living in Jardim. Pastor Takashi is wholeheartedly willing to help us and to help any family that can accomplish their blessings and conditions. We already could achieve 800 blessings, HTM blessings, and 6 families could become Chombo families, and also their spiritual parents. I would like to give you a message to every family that for some reason could accomplish the 430 blessings. It's not hard. It's about walking and doing everything with your heart centered in Heavenly Parents and Parents, and then we will achieve it. And people will be very grateful. Now, it's easier because people need it. They need a prayer due to this pandemic and all the bad things that are happening in people's lives. So it's easier to approach people and offer the blessing. There's people, they are suffering and they wait for someone to give them a help and a word. I want to thank Pastor Takashi that helped us a lot. He's really a father. He's working the front line and he's giving the blessings and donating it to us. So I want to thank you very much and to thank you for the opportunity to be talking with all the families in South America. We will be continuing, we'll keep this work now in order to achieve the HTM horizontal conditions. So thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for the report. Now let's receive the testimony from Mr. Edgar. Let's receive him with a warm round of applause. Good evening, Reverend King, brothers and sisters from Subregion 2. This evening, I would like to talk about my testimony of HTM and the liberation and blessing of ancestors and the blessing of 430 horizontal families. We live in Chile. We started in October of 2018. That year, we made a second project to realize blessings. I live in as a missionary in Concepcion in Chile. I would like to share experience I had in 2019. It was an experience I had in my process of liberating and blessing my ancestors. I I achieved liberation and blessing in another. So when I arrived at the airport of Alto, Bolivia in October of 2019, I felt very strongly in my heart the presence of my wife, Oratai. Immediately, tears ran down my cheeks, and when I arrived to Cochabamba, Brother Jacob went to pick me up by motorcycle to the airport to the headquarters because of the social situation that was happening in Bolivia. I realized that it would be a very valuable time that was to come. Thanks to the liberation of ancestors, I could understand two great episodes in my life. The period before coming to the movement when I was 21 and 3 years old, the time I did my military service in Chile, and the second period before the ascension of my wife to the spiritual world. When I finished the liberation of ancestors in the prayer room, I felt a strong feeling of repentance for all my ancestors who fought in the Pacific War and killed and expelled many Bolivian brothers. I did not stop crying, and when the liberation ended and we began to express our love to the brothers, and when I met with Pastor Freddy, when we hugged each other, we couldn't stop crying. I felt so relieved to receive their love and, in a sense, their forgiveness for all the damage that my sisters caused to all of them. When I arrived in Bolivia in 1993 in the city of Santa Cruz with only two Bolivian brothers, Freddy Henriquez and his wife Maria from Brazil. On March 16 was my birthday. I found my wife lying on the couch with a strong headache. During 80 days, she had many experiences with the spiritual world. One day, when I visited her in the clinic in the city of La Paz, she told me the experience she had during that night. She told me that while she was sleeping, and many Bolivian ancestors approached her in her bed, and she could feel so much hate and anger coming out of their faces. Oratai was sleeping with the picture of her parents, and they struggled to get it off her chest, but she wouldn't let go of the parents' picture. Also, one morning after coming out from the clinic, the President Yu seated with her in her bed, and in the morning of March of 1997, when many Bolivians felt fury of having lost their territory to us Chileans, my beloved wife Rataya ascended to spiritual world. When we were doing the sisters' blessing, I could feel so deeply that only through heavenly parents and through parents comes the solution of forgiveness and blessing for all humankind. So these experiences were very decisive to me to understand the spiritual world behavior. And this experience was so strong, but very real. I clearly can understand the theme, the topic of our life, the meaning of our life. And we already could liberate our ancestors and also the blessing. Here I was doing my mission with my wife Oratai in my city Natal de Concepcion. I was working not only with the economic uh, field, but I couldn't understand another field. But in this field, he made him able to liberate his ancestors. So I could understand the value and the need of realizing the mission Through Mother is asking us. I started working with 43 couples, witnessing to them. They are couples from my family, my sister family, my friends, and my customers. And 30 families I was working 30 families I was working to give the blessing was the first step. And I was also working with young people. I am already giving, I'm witnessing to 18 young people, but my goal is to achieve 43 young people. That's the 30 families I could give the blessing. And I'm conducting my work through sharing the DP lecture. I could give almost all the condition during this pandemic. I couldn't visit all of them. I'm only allowed to go out to do the fundamental and essential things. This first family could realize the condition completely, and we also have goal to achieve our goal. We had a goal to achieve this condition in April, but the pandemic made it hard. My experience in this 100 days period, it was made me grow, and I feel grateful. And also for the education we are learning, receiving from Reverend Kim every week. And I hope that these families can learn completely about divine principle. It's not easy to advance because, for example, a lot of them, a lot of pastors ask me if they accomplish to learn all the divine principle, but after this step of educating them about divine principle, we will start to educate them reading the divine principle together, so they can understand the value of the blessing And after that step, they can become really blessed families. Also, my experience in 2 weeks ago, this some couple came divine principle, and I feel substantially how spiritual work can work, a spiritual world can work with us, and how I feel that I need to keep going and developing with the help from of spiritual world, and to receive strength from them. I also want to be able to organize my life, to be able to have more free time to meet them and teach them about divine principle, to read together. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much. Especially, I would like to invite you, brothers and sisters, to really feel the importance of blessing, liberating our ancestors. I really couldn't understand it deeply, but but my spiritual father reported to me that he could achieve the liberation and blessing of his ancestors. So it encouraged me to also do that, liberate and bless my ancestors. And I feel very happy because I know I received so much help, so much support to advance, to keep going through these 24 years in church. And I feel that together we can achieve this mission with Heavenly Parents. Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you very much. Now we are going to receive a report from Mrs. Sylvia from Bolivia. Let's receive her for a warm round of applause. Good evening, Reverend King, families, brothers and sisters. In name of family Montaño, that's my husband. We are from Bolivia, from Cochabamba department. We would like to tell you how we have achieved the victory of liberating and blessing horizontally and also vertically. Well, it seems that we can't share or scream that we prepare it, but I will start talking and later I'll be commenting about it. In the year of 2019, we finished the liberation and blessing of our ancestors. Later, our national leader organized a meeting to start the tribal messiah in order to give the horizontal blessings. In that meeting, I remember very well that he said, until Sunday, you need to give a blessing to at least one person, one family, and bring them to church. And I couldn't understand what to do and how to do. I wasn't feeling excited to do it, but me and my husband my husband raised his hand and said, "Yeah, we are going to do it." And I was feeling, my husband will surely do it. But suddenly, Saturday morning, I had classes to give. I'm a teacher, and when the day started, I said in a prayer, maybe it was really spiritual world that fastly told in my mind that I could copy the flyers and that I could go out and achieve all these activities and blessings, give blessing to 7 families all at once. And I told all of that to my husband, and I told exactly what to do. Spiritual world was telling me exactly what to do. And I want to tell you sincerely, with my husband, there's no there's not so much unity, but the providence united us. After saying that to my husband, he was already doing some activities, but then hardship came up, and I lost my passions. I already couldn't go out, and I already couldn't do what I planned. So I prepared to go out at afternoon with feeling calm, but I wasn't feeling but I wasn't feeling secure, that confident that my husband would do that. But we went out to in order to achieve the goal of giving 7 blessings to 7 couples. It was not my wish, my my own drive. It was a spiritual world encouraging and guiding us. And after that, in the next November, what you are sharing is not what I'm saying. It's from the special grace we receive it. You can pass to the next slide. That's us. In when you are given the blessing, liberating our ancestors. That's our family attending the event after giving the blessing. Well, I was telling you about the horizontal blessings. So in the school I work, there was a parents meeting, and then I joined it in the school. I entered in the school and I told the director, I am from a woman association, and that's how we work, and I want to do a wedding and this with these parents of our students. And then the director of that school, being guided by spiritual world, he accepted, and he accepted to us to give the blessing to the families. But included in this meeting, the director said that there was many couples, but we know that a lot of couples are working, are busy, so maybe only one of the couple are attending the meeting. So after that, so in the next slide is the pictures of us doing the work. So that's the course we did it. That's the graduation, and there was so much light. How, when, what to do. I didn't I didn't I didn't have to attend all the events because there's many people supporting to them receive the blessing. That's the blessing and the graduation party. The director, I told the director to please allow me to talk, to speak to them. And I asked the spiritual world I had when I had to speak in the graduation party event. And we found 52 couples in the ceremony. And the Christmas, we met people in their houses, around 20 families. Only me could do that. Only I could do that. In 2019, I could. We know that in many blessings we can overcome our fallen natures, but now we have to do that, not later. So I was helping my nephew's marriage, and we joined their wedding ceremony. And after that, in the February, the classes I give started, and I was busy, but it was not me, neither my husband, that were feeling inspired and excited to do the blessing for our ancestors, but it was the motivation we were receiving from spiritual world. There was, in the school I work, the director said, you can educate the families, the children, and with the time, I couldn't leave the school. Every morning, at some morning, I had to give the blessing to 20 couples, but I didn't have time. So in the February of 2019, we could achieve the horizontal blessings condition. It's the experiences we had and the way we have been working and the providence. Now, for example, me and my husband, in some way, we united through providence. That's our center. Even with our fallen nature, maybe it's very hard, strong, but with heavenly parents and parents. That's what these pictures that you are showing are from or Christmas. That way, the experience itself, maybe it's not or human efforts. I felt like spiritual world was taking me. I should be just making me available to God to work with me, through me, to use my mouth, my hands, and in this way, with as a condition, every morning we had to read the guideline to become a happy family. So in that way, we could achieve this activity, and to in order to achieve the 430 families, we are visiting families here to give them the holy wine. And we see that the families aren't feeling well, they are not doing well. We are visiting these families. And on the other hand, there's many people suffering, they have a lot of problems, but the confidence of spiritual world, they trust me and my husband, and we start to read divine principle virtually online with these families. Some of them are not so available, but some of our friends come to our house. There are some people that didn't actually receive the blessing, and we were they trust us, and people that trust them also come with them to visit us. We didn't feel that there's not so much barriers, but it's an open way. And I feel that these people will become God's people. And that's the responsibility God gave to our family, to me and my husband. And we assume this responsibility because that's so needed to us to work in the providence and to achieve victory to heavenly parents. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your report, your presentation. Now we will have a section of questions and answers. So if any one of you have questions to the members that shared this evening, please raise your hands and we will open your microphone.
Senhora Sharon, pode fazer sua pergunta, por favor?
My question is to Pastor Celia. When we were talking about how you gave holy wine, you told us so much about giving holy wine to only individuals individually. But how can you give the blessing to only one individual, in only one person, and not for a couple? Mrs. Sharon, now with the orientation, if we meet Pastor Takashi oriented us, guided us, and gave us some lectures, and told us that if we meet one of the spouse, we can pray for the blessing and give the holy wine that the person can take, representing the husband or wife. In that way we could achieve more fast the blessings, because it's harder to find a couple together. So in this way we we also could meet a lot of couple, but it's easier to find only one of the spouse, the man or the woman, or the woman. Okay, thank you very much. If any one of you want to bring more questions, please raise your hands.
Pastor Marcos, pode fazer sua pergunta, por favor?
Pastor Marx, can you bring your question, please? Good evening, brothers and sisters. Congratulations for everyone's work, especially to the lady from Bolivia, because she used her spiritual sensibility and used her time working in school. And it is so interesting how she said that she feel the contact from a spiritual world, and she used her work in the school to give blessings with her husband. I would like to ask for Ronilson to give us an explanation, so all of us can have a better understanding about how to give the blessing in the case of a person that is not with the couple, the two persons together. Because here in Rio de Janeiro, we had the opportunity to give the blessing to people that came to us, and we really got a doubt about that, if we were allowed to give the blessing to that family, but only to the man or to the woman, because they are not together as couple. And we gave the priority to give the blessing to the couple. So please, Ronilson, can you give us a better explanation about this point? Good evening, Pastor Marcus. Since the workshop in 2017, and also the workshop from in last year that Reverend King gave, he told us that we can give holy wine to single people and also to couples. In other classes, we presented the roles to these people, and I think that the most of you know that. But just to only to tell, if someone doesn't know, it's allowed to do the blessing, to give the blessing to single people, but they need to have 18 years old at last. You can give holy wine to someone that aren't 18 years old yet, but it's not going to be counted. Last week we had a similar question. The single person should take the entire holy wine, himself or herself, and the spiritual parents need to work to them become member and to join the community as a single person, and they will be counted as for in the 430 list. But this person is not going to share the whole wine with anyone, Later, the spiritual parent have to work with this person to restore and to be able to receive the blessing, receive a spouse. And also with the widow that lost their spouse, they also can receive the holy wine, but it's important to watch with attention to all the cases with together with the family department. And also when we are visiting houses and there's not the couple are not together in the moment, but we can give the holy wine to the only to the man or woman, to one of the partners. And but we had to tell them that they have to save the holy wine to give to their spouse later. It's a new tea because the rules changed a little bit after Reverend King came in South America. So that's the three cases that's possible: the widow, single, and to give to one of the spouse, even if the other is not present. But the spouse have to save the whole wine to give later to their partner. The ideal that Reverend King told us is to confirm with the couple later, but it's not so necessary to confirm in order to count the couple in your list of blessings. But please confirm later with the couple if they both could take the holy wine. So that's the point that it's important to clarify to all of you. So anyone have more questions? Please raise your hands and we will open your microphone.
Senhor Rock, pode fazer sua pergunta?
Hello, Ronilson. My question is about who we can't give the blessing, who you can't do the make the ceremony. That's our question. Basically, there's no person that not any case that are forbidden. What you want, I will tell you what you want count in your list. It's not officially forbidden, but a single person must have 18 years old at least. You can give the holy wine, but the person won't be counted, registered. Pastor Manuel, can you bring your question? Good evening, brothers and sisters, everyone, and to the members that shared our report, your report. Congratulations. My question is to clarify. So Pastor Hanilson, we listened a report from someone that is given a blessing, and that couple mentioned that it's already possible to give this to do this 40 days separation ceremony and the 3 days ceremony. I would like to know if it's official or not. Okay, thank you very much for the question. And last January and last February, in one of the lessons, HTM lessons, Reverend King asked us to prepare a PowerPoint um, um, telling you, presenting you what was possible to do before February and what's possible now. So now some people that are not leaders and not leaders or pastors, they shouldn't uh, tell the couples to do the 40 days and 3 day ceremonies. It only can be um, conducted and oriented by pastors and leaders. If there's it shouldn't be oriented by the family, by the church. In two lessons here, we already explained that families shouldn't orient orient couples to do the ceremonies. It should be centered in the leaders, in church leaders. So Reverend King told us that there are some people in the transition period, they were already in that process, they already could do that and to finish like some spiritual children already were doing like the 40 days, they were in the 30-day already, so they shouldn't stop it, but after that they should center the ceremonies and church leaders. So our missionaries and pastors should guide the blessing ceremonies. Of course, it's hard to do it to this pandemic, but it's working. This rule is working now and after this pandemic too. So you should report to leaders, and when the pastors and leaders uh, prepare some ceremony and hold some ceremony, all of you can bring the couples to receive the blessing, so they can receive the holy wine with you, but later they can receive the blessing and accomplish the 40 days and 3 day ceremonies.
Senhor João Batista, pode fazer sua pergunta, por favor?
Mr. João Batista, can you bring your question, please? Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the lesson. I would like to clarify if one the information we had before is that maybe only the wife could receive the holy wine, but not the husband. But I would like to know if the husband also can take the holy wine. That information isn't valid, it's wrong. This information is not from us officially. The who told you that said wrong. Any of the spouse can take it if they are alone. Anyone else would like to bring questions to our presenters?
Senhor Antônio Dias, pode fazer sua pergunta, por favor?
I would like to know that many people do do the ceremony of hitting the back of the couple, the husband or wife. It, we should do all the ceremonies, the entire ceremony, also that you hit the back. But if you are not doing it, you also can count the couples, because the finality is that later the couples will receive a new holy wine, the holy wine again, and to become members. So if you can do that, it's good. But if you can't do that, you don't need to. You can register the couple. So we are going to keep our schedule tonight. And there was a situation that Reverend King couldn't be present this evening. So he asked that our president, Koichi Sasaki, can share words tonight. So let's receive him with a warm round of applause. Good evening. Thank you very much for the reports and testimonies. With the I would like to say something to you until we finish the lesson tonight, since Reverend King asked me to do that. Can you see that? Can you see it? Okay. Well, if since we have a limitation of time, I will pass this content fastly. I used this content in a Sunday service in March 14 March. If you have interest to know more about that, you can watch the recording. In that workshop, Sunday service, I told you that we must live with a mindset set of complete testament. I told you about the difference of Christian faith and the unification faith. Later, Reverend Kim told, as Reverend King told us, we need to experience the unity of spiritual world and physical world. And with the victory of true parents, there's a lot of good spirits now. There's a really big number, and only in Brazil, but in the entire world, in the whole world, we have very good people and also good spirits, and we need to ask them their help and strength from spiritual world. And the Father said, if a person doesn't know about that, they need to learn about it. I want to share this slide tonight. And that's Sunday service. I shared the first part, but I couldn't have the opportunity to finish sharing everything. I would like to share in the shorter way tonight. So as I said, we need to mobilize the spiritual world. There is a merit of our time, of our era. People sometimes can learn deeply and concretely, and I want to tell you about that tonight. There is a merit of time and of our ancestors. So how can we do that? There sometimes miracles can happen, but sometimes not. What moment we in which moment we can mobilize and which moment we cannot mobilize the spiritual world? That's the topic I want to tell you with more details. So there's some point, 7 point, 8 points, but there is more than that. But basically, that I would like to explain, listening to lecture and central figure words, we need to incentivize and cheer up, and the time will help us. But if we are just living normally, we won't experience the work of the spiritual world. When a person are working in front line, there's more risk to lose the life, risking the life. For example, on a missionary that work in a certain country in a certain time, they are risking their lives. It happened in the past with the communism in the nations that communism are ruling. Some places that doesn't have food, hard situations. Every missionaries needed to witness and every day meet with God. Every day through Father appeared in the dreams, not once in a month, but every day. It's because they are living the situation of internally and externally risking their lives. The serious heart of the missionary, God is also taken seriously, and parents too are taking seriously, so God can talk with them directly. And the opposite, even if we can listen a lot of lectures, Sunday service, workshop, but if your life is the normal way, on in the comfortable way, or in the laziness pattern, nothing will happen. You can understand that, right? It's the time passes. We can think that we are busy doing a lot, but we can achieve a good result. Why that happened? It's because we are not breaking barriers. We doesn't have the pattern to break the barriers. If we are doing a lot of conditions and risking our lives, it doesn't need to be so much risking life in a really hard way, but in such situation, it's not hard to experience miracles and to experience God experiences. God, in my own experience in carp in Japan, I was doing a lot of conditions until late of night, total in devotion. I did a challenge. It was in Japan. There's not so hard situations as war, but I was pulling myself to risk my life. I was giving my total investment. In my first 5 minutes, I felt I couldn't do anymore, but I was pulling myself to do more, to go further, to hit myself, my body, and to go closer to death, and to achieve the limit, to have the desire of falling down in the ground. But even falling down, I could feel that I achieved my goal. I did my part. I did my responsibility. In the other way, if I don't do that, I make God sad because I didn't my part. I didn't my responsibility. When I finish my fundraising in the day, I offer it to have my parents, and the parents pray in church, and immediately tears come go down in my face, because if I am standing up, it's because there's a lot of energy yet, so I couldn't give all my efforts. And I finish my day repenting because I still have energy. And in the Next day, I wake up early, 5 a.m., and work the entire day with total devotion. I I never visit a place that I was risking my life, like in war, but I pulled myself to face it, a life and death situation, a total investment. Physically and spiritually, I was achieving my limitations. All the e- uh, every day I was doing fundraising, and every day I was meeting God and experiencing miracles, meeting through parents, Hyunjining, and God was talking with me in many ways. There's no way to not believe in God because every day we're feeling God. God is following us. We There's no way to not feeling God, not feel God. We feel God every day and we experience God's work, and there's a lot of miracles happening. Only one day after fundraising, I learned we learn how to mobilize the spiritual world. Maybe tonight I won't be able to explain everything, and maybe in another opportunity I can explain better. But certainly, it's not only wishing to experience the miracles. We need to know what we are practicing, how we can break the barriers to achieve a new level in which one we can experience God directly. Living in the normal way, eating a lot, sleeping a lot, resting a lot, it, it's so the person is so lazy, not can do sacrifices and challenges, do whatever they want, only looking for comfort, and not doing prayer conditions. Even if you're doing a little bit of activity, but not so much results will come out. If you practice five, the result will that will come will be five. But if you break the barrier and break the physical limitations, there is not so much differences of dedication to every person, each person. There's no much differences between two persons. If a person do activity number five, level five, and achieve result level five, but there's people doing much more, experiencing God, experiencing miracles, living with God, experiencing God's work. This person does the difference. The focus is to overcome the limitations. When I explain to you about breaking barriers through prayer, it, it's we need the main point about prayer is to break the barrier. If I can, if I don't have time, I won't pray only 1 minute because it's not going to work. A person can think like that, but if you do with your heart and effort, this only 1 minute, it will break the barrier. Things like being busy, not feeling motivated, you won't achieve a good result or just a small result accordingly to your physical work. When you do, when you sacrifice your body and break your limitations emotionally, spiritually, physically, overcoming the spiritual pressure from Satan, or also overcoming your heartbreak, your emotions, and sometimes, and a lot of times, your physical limitations. If you dedicate yourself to break the barrier, then a lot of good results will come out, and God can work with you. Here, the first point is to the separation of Satan with Satan. Without separating from Satan, God can't work. Once again, if a person eats a lot, of course, for your health, eating a lot is important, but but to separate of Satan, if you are only looking for the comfortable situation to your physical body, if there is no faith elements, sacrifice, dedication, and if you're not loving God in order to break physical limitations, there is no chance to God do miracles. That's the basic thing. The first conditions is to separate from Satan. In the original world, there's no Satan, but we still couldn't overcome all the Satans, the evil spirits. So for us to meet God, we need to do conditions in order to separate from Satan. So if we are doing a lot of that conditions to separate of Satan, we meet God a lot. If you are living in a comfortable way, there is no sacrifices and no self-denying. So the level of meeting God is very small. When members do conditions, small conditions, they can't experience God. But if you challenge yourself, breaking the limits, the borders, you easily meet God. You always meet God if you are doing a big condition uh, beyond your limitations. I'm not saying that you need to be Superman, like 40 days, fasting for 40 days. If everyone have a spiritual limitation, if you compare this limit with a number of 100, if you are a very low level, in a comfortable level, you're not separate of Satan, so you're not doing conditions to God and spiritual world to work. But if you are doing more conditions, I'm not saying that you need to do it like in an impossible level so high. You don't need to do that so high condition. I'm just saying to you, to telling you to break your limitations, to overcome your limitations. It's like an airplane that go up on a cloud. If you overcome the cloud, you will not experience the rain. So in the same way, when you are overcoming your limitations and breaking your um, links with Satan, we when we break these limitations, we are living in the realm of God and we can experience God directly. If we're doing a small condition and you don't feel anything, it's so small. So the miracles that are happening are accordingly to the level of your conditions. But if you have the concept of overcoming your limitations, then you surely meet God. It's the difference. So when I say the word limit, I don't know what you are thinking about, but limit means, for example, when you go to every day to the holy ground, your condition is to before Hondoke you visit holy ground. In the first day you feel happy, the second day you feel excited, the third day you're feeling determined. But during the 40 days that you are doing this condition, providentially always will be a moment in that you feel unmotivated or physically tired or spiritually weak, or you can have a heartbreak, so you can't feel it motivated to go to the holy ground. But exactly in that moment, it's a providentially programmed moment to overcome your barriers and to decide if you're in the God's way or Satan way. When it's easy in the first days, God's not evaluating you, and Satan is not giving too much attention to you. But during a time like 70 days, in some moment you feel so tired because you worked so much, your body is hurting, you doesn't feel like waking up, it's your body limitations. You feel you feel like there's a lot of evil spirits coming, they are pressuring you to not being able to achieve your goal. And also struggles like Cain and Abel fight, or husband and wife, and your heart feels so sad, and you are being so selfish. You don't want to know about God, you don't want to go to holy ground or your condition because your heart is hurting, and you're thinking so selfishly. And then Satan in do a inversion, and Satan is controlling you, so you need to overcoming it, your heart break, and overcoming your tiredness, overcome and ignore your emotions, your fallen nature, so you can change, invert the Satan's position, overcome Satan control. And then the condition is central figure, the time, to, that's chanson. That's the way to separate from Satan. So if a member is not focused on that idea, can you imagine it? If a member doesn't understand things like that, every day this person can do activities, but when they meet the crucial, the moment, the harder moment, in the moment you feel so tired, spiritually weak and pressured, you don't feel motivated to do the condition. In the moment, the member doesn't have the vision. They think, I don't want to do the condition today. I do every day, but today I'm not going to do that. So in the next day, we won't do that again. Then you see 3 days passed and you didn't, your condition. So you can't keep your pattern. You couldn't prove that you have absolute faith. You are losing your condition. In that moment, that member one couldn't understand that him or her lose the opportunity to break the barrier, to experience God's providence and God's miracle. When you do and stop, do a lot of condition when you have a good humor, but then you stop and you go to rest, and then in that moment Satan control you, inverted the position and controlled you. In the moment that God and Satan are worrying, they are fighting to take this condition, you lose it because you failed to overcome your limitations. When if you can't overcome it, you can do a lot of activities, but we won't achieve good results. But in the other way, you can be victorious, you can grow up spiritually and have good results, meet God. The time is good, miracle will happen, spiritual world is working, but there's the mankind, the human responsibility to separate from Satan. That's the first point. You you can see the title in this slide on the specific method to mobilize the spiritual world. If you can't overcome it, your limitations, you can't separate from Satan. If you use the situation to overcome and break the barriers, anytime you can mobilize the spiritual world and do miracles. Can you imagine it? That members can do miracles, but not like evangelic churches are doing, but miracles in the way that we can accomplish the human responsibility, and God can receive you since you separate from Satan and you overcome your limitations. 1 second before separating from Satan and overcoming the limitation, it's very, very hard. But 1 second after that, it's only about 2 seconds. It's only 2 seconds. After 1 second that is overcame your limitations, you won't feel tired. The tiredness, the heartbreak will disappear. You feel much more excited. You feel revived. Uh, you feel filled with energy and connected with God because you are living directly receiving the energy from God. The because we are living together with God, we are receiving the primary energy from God. For example, the fundraising condition at morning, you feel that there's a lot of evil spirits around, and the first thing is to hit your own body to break the physical barriers, and later you break the spiritual barrier, and then a person um, say something bad for you and break your heart during the fundraising. So we have to overcome these three things: the physical barrier, spiritual barrier, and emotional barrier. So after that, when you are paying a lot of indemnity, you feel that you did enough conditions. You feel you reached the place, the goal, the place the place you should, the position you should achieve to change the realm. Now God have all the possibilities to mobilize spiritual world, and your goals will be accomplished by God's miracles. Mm, my goal could be to achieve a number of 300 reais in the fundraising condition, and I only have 50 reais. And I feel it's so hard to achieve it, but after time, putting efforts and doing condition, and when I achieve all the barrier, we can feel that God will make us achieve the goal through miracles. If you do every day the conditions, every day breaking barriers and paying them every day, we can turn this or a pattern of life. We can easily prove, experience God's heart, easily mobilize spiritual world. In another opportunity, I'm going to explain the other points. There's a lot of secrets here, but if you can't learn about that, you waste your life. So before ending my words here, why Reverend Kim is telling us about spiritual world? Because I'm telling you that because I want that all the blessed families become victorious to to register in heaven next October to become Chombo families. But to do that, our last opportunity is to liberate our ancestors next 23 May 23. Giving the holy wine is also important, but you can do that after this time, this date. First, we need to liberate our ancestors. And the Chombo workshop.
Iscriçãoate dia 17 no caso Brasil, se não me engano, né? É por isso, hoje estou falando esse conteúdo, né? Tentando, né? Acreditando que toda família abençoada entenda, pratica e vamos experimentar todo mundo. É grande milagre, desafio e faz libertação de antepassado. A partir de, né? Entrada de dinheiro para pagar taxa. Vai ocorrer milagre.
God is helping us through the merit of time, and with our level of faith, we'll be victorious, even if you're lacking this condition of liberating our ancestors. So it's important to have a big faith and separate us of Satan. Myself, I had the same experience like that, and many members think they have a lot of experiences already. In the past, we could see that some members couldn't achieve the number of dollars needed to liberate ancestors, but there's many testimonies, like some strange people or relatives call us to give us the money, the exact number of the dollars needed to liberate ancestors. Myself, I had the same experience. Also, these experiences and miracles happened to me, but there's many types of miracles, small miracles, big miracles, but it's accordingly to your efforts and conditions as much you challenge yourself. And in the last moment, last time, last second, spiritual world will help you. So we need to focus on liberating the ancestors and also horizontally to become Chombo families. I would like to finish my speech this evening. Thank you very much. President, can you offer a prayer? Heavenly parents, true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, I thank you for this opportunity of sharing testimonies, questions and answers, and some words. This evening, nowadays, we are not lacking information. We already know what's the focus on providence and on heavenly parents and our human responsibility. The serious things are based on that. So we need to dedicate our heart and our devotion. And I wish that everyone can break our barriers and mobilize the spiritual world to live together with God. And under the God's power, we can be victorious. If we use our capacity as individuals, we will be able to achieve victory. But once we use God's power and God's capacity, it's completely possible. Even if the time is short, to God, it's very easy. What's lacking is our responsibility. We need to overcome the Satan's limitations, our own limitations, and experience miracles and God's power that are manifested through our victories. Please, God, bless all our blessed families and to be able to achieve the victory, becoming Chombo families, liberating ancestors, and blessing the 430 families. I thank you very much. I report these things in my own name, Koichi Sasaki. I bless the Central family. I do. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your sharings. Let's offer a ball. Please offer a ball. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Boa noite, obrigada, presidente, pelo excelente
Boa noite.
Boa noite. Olha, quero testemunho do jardim, obrigada. Maria do Céu. Maria do Céu.